I call Honi Harawira.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, normally I'd be just happy to just go with the flow of the kōrero and just interject where possible, but I think there needs to be some clarification about some of the issues here. First of all of this talk about Labour's support for the Māori seats. Now, Mr. Jones knows more than most of them do that that's clearly not true. In fact, Mr. Jones is known for having told Mr. Carter and Mr. Tauhinare that in fact Labour wasn't going to be supporting the Māori seats. And when the people, the Māori people of Orake and all over Auckland called for a hui and invited all of the Māori MPs to come back to that hui to discuss what we're going to do about trying to fight for the Māori seats. Who turned up? Well, I heard Mr. Jones over here slagging off Georgina Te Heu for not bothering to come along to the select committee, but did she turn up to the hui in Auckland? Hell yes, she turned up. Yes, she turned up. Regardless of the fact that a lot of the Māori people up there were not particularly keen on National's position on the Māori seats, she fronted. Georgina Te Heu fronted that hui and was applauded for turning up and being honest.
What did she say?
The only other MPs that turned up, of course, were the Honourable Dr. Peter Sharples and the Honourable Hone Harawira. I didn't see anybody from Labour. So, when we hear about Labour's commitment to the Māori seats, that was the first opportunity that they had to actually declare their position in support of the Māori seats. And from the time that the issue was laid on the floor in this House, for about 2 or 3 weeks after, Labour was deadly silent. Deadly silent, never made a position on it. And they only came out on the Māori seats when they realised that National was going to be desperately opposed to it, and they decided, we can get onto this one, we can get on, and that's the only reason. That is the only reason that Labour came out. And I'll tell you something else. I'll tell all of you Labour people something else too. Mr. Jones clearly has a completely different opinion to the rest of you. Every single one of the Labour MPs who have spoken this issue tonight have spoken about the Māori seats. The Māori seats with an S on. Mr. Jones gets up and says, Labour never supported the Māori seats and only supported one Māori seat. Well, come on. Is Mr. Jones right? I know he expects to be the leader of the Labour Party within the very near future, but is he right or are the rest of you right? Because it clearly is not the same position. And when I hear all of the other Labour MPs talk about the right of iwi and the importance of mana whenua, and then Mr. Jones gets up and says, we don't support mana whenua, we don't support hapu, we don't support iwi. Clearly, there's some major differences in the party on that side of the House. And then of course, when it becomes clear that Labour's got to get in on the act, there's a massive hikoi through Auckland, and where does Mr. Jones and Mr. Parikura Horomea get caught taking photos of? McDonald's! Not even clever enough to come with me around the back to B case. He gets right out and gets snapped at McDonald's, right on Queen Street. Very good, Mr. Jones. And that really has been,
Point of order. Point of order has been called. Order. Point of order, the Honourable Shane Jones.
For the record, it was Burger King. And it was a cup of tea.
Is there a difference? Order. I call Honi Harawira.
I withdraw and apologise, Mr. Jones. But simply to make the point, that while I am happy to stand alongside Labour in this position to fight for the Māori seats, and I'm not supportive of government's position on this, I do need to clarify exactly where Labour came from on this. And that was, when they saw that the Māori Party was going to get a runner on this, they decided to come out and support. And that is the only reason they came out and support. Now, to stop all of the people on that side of the House yelling at me, I'll turn my sights now to Mr. Rodney Hyde over here, who has on numerous occasions said that the importance of this vote is about one man, one vote. One man, one vote. Well, if it's true that in this country we believe in one man, one vote, if it's true that in this country we believe in one man, one vote, then how come Winston Peters' party gets 10,000 more votes than your party, but he gets nothing in the House and you get 5? Now, clearly, Mr. Hyde, it's obviously because the democracy you talk about is not the democracy that you're happy to enjoy. No, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to continue if I could.
Harawira.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. And I think it's also important to realise that when Mr. Hyde talks about that one man, one vote, the democracy that he espouses is not the democracy that he enjoys. In this House, Mr. Hyde enjoys not the one man, one vote, but an MMP form of parliament. Now, I, from the Māori Party, am more than happy to go with the one man, one vote in the seats in this House, in the seats in this country. This person won their seat, this person won their seat, I won my seat, Mr. Flavel won his seat, and Mrs. Katene won her seat as well. Now that's what you call one man, one vote. No less seats in the Māori Party. On the other hand, ACT, which talks all about one man, one vote, the only person that got elected into Parliament for ACT was Mr. Rodney Hyde. Who are these other people? I happen to know that Mr. Garrett's wife didn't even vote for him. So I want us to realise, Mr. Chairman, I want us to realise that the one man, one vote that Mr. Rodney Hyde espouses in this House is simply not the democracy that he enjoys, him and his colleagues. I mean, seriously, who on earth in their right mind would vote Roger Douglas back into Parliament? Sir Roger, my apologies, Sam. Sir Sam, my apologies. They are here because Rodney Hyde got in and was able to bring in a suite of candidates. Nothing to do with one man, one vote. I think clearly we need to clarify those issues, because when we call for Māori seats in Auckland, it's not because we're after a special vote and every Māori that would get to vote for the Māori seats would only get to vote for those Māori seats. They wouldn't get to vote for the Māori seats and for some other seats as well. One man, one vote. One woman, one vote. Doesn't really matter. Mr. James, I think you need to sit down with your colleagues and clarify the situation. The Labour Party supports Māori seats with an S, more than one. You're not supposed to stand up and say only one. The Labour Party also supports the principle of mana whenua. They've said that on numerous occasions. So I think if you are to achieve that aspiration of getting to the very top of the Labour Party tree within the next 9 years, because that's where you're going to be, in opposition right up until that time, you really do need to clarify your fullest positions on these very, very important issues. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. E te whare tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou. Good night, kia ora tātou katoa.